Lu Jia woke up in a world filled with scheming sects, arrogant young masters, and the mad chase for the immortal heavens. He wanted none of it. But his plan to escape the sect is interrupted by an old alchemist's pills that heal him within moments, a magical cure. These medicines ignite the flame of curiosity to learn true magic in him, rekindling his love of discovery. Lu Jia sets out to study the immutable truths hidden within the world, and soon finds an all-new path of cultivation that could take him to the very top. So let's start this video. Cultivation. It is the art of gathering energy within one's spirit to reach for heights unseen. 1,000-year path to the pinnacle of existence. Immortality. But only a select few ever reach such heights. Most never get the chance. They are born as mortals unable to sense the chi around them. But sometimes, very rarely, blessings appear in mortals. A child blessed with chi. A man comes running and tells something to the man working in the field, because of which the man runs to his house. Then he sees his wife and the woman is holding a child in her hands, seeing which the man becomes very happy because their child has just been born. And there is a smile on his face on seeing his child. And he asks his wife, "What shall we name him, dear?" So his wife tells him, "Jia. He'll be our dear Lu Jia." But this world is a cruel one. 20 years later. A boy is beating someone very badly, and many students are watching all this. And an elder says the spar is won by Yenli. Here, the strong rule the weak. Only those blessed with talent gain power. And power is everything. And the winning boy says, "Are you done already, junior brother? I still have many pointers to share." And then another boy comes behind him and he says, "Ren, that was pathetic. Barely managed to take 5 blows. Let us leave, brother. This scum is not worth our time." And the protagonist is badly injured and he remembers his mother. Then some students help Lu Jia to stand up. And the elder says, "Someone take Lu Jia to the old man. He seems to have hit his head hard." And Lu Jia is badly injured. And when Lu Jia opens his eyes, he is very shocked, and he thinks, "What's happening? Who are these people? And who the hell is Lu Jia?" But Lu Jia again falls unconscious. After some time, when he opens his eyes, he starts feeling a lot of pain in his body. And when he looks in front, an old man is performing some kind of technique. And Lu Jia is surprised to see him and he starts staring, but the old man is busy with his work. Then he opens a cauldron, there is a pill in it, and he feeds the pill to Lu Jia. Then the old man says, "Good, let the chi flow and your injuries will be healed soon." And Lu Jia asks, "Where am I? Who are you?" And the old man is surprised to hear Lu Jia's words and he says, "What kind of question is that? Loss of memory? Perhaps the injury was worse than I thought. This is the Cloudy Peak sect. You're a disciple here, Lu Jia." And Lu Jia is surprised to hear the old man's words, and he did not know that his name was Lu Jia. Then the old man while leaving says, "I have to leave for work. Try to recall your memory while the pill works. If you still can't remember, I will make a new pill for you." And the old man leaves. And after she leaves, Lu Jia starts searching his memories. And he thinks the last thing I remember was studying for chemistry class. And everything went dark after that. And he remembers a woman following him calling his name, Lu Jia. "You can't go running around like that. Lu Tai. The forest is dangerous, come back." And Lu Jia thinks, whose memories are these? Is that? And then a very dangerous wolf comes in front of that little boy, seeing which the little boy gets very scared. And his mother hugs him to save him. And the wolf moves forward to attack both of them, but then someone attacks the wolf and kills it. And we see that a cultivator moves towards them, and it kills this wolf. And the cultivator says, "It is dangerous for mortals to be out here. Return to your village." And Lu Jia's mother thanks the cultivator. And Lu Jia thinks, a cultivator? Is this a cultivation world? Like the ones I've read about in comics? Then this. It's Lu Jia's memory. And Lu Jia remembers that when he grew up a little he requested to join a sect, and he joined the sect. And Lu Jia thinks the story goes just like the comics I read. Like every kid blessed with chi, Lu Jia joined a sect to become a cultivator. And he remembers how he used to get defeated by others very easily, and the winning man says to him, "You should quit before you die in sparring. You only bring shame to this sect." And another student says, "Someone take Lu Jia to the old man, he got injured again." And Lu Jia thinks he never had the talent to be strong. And two students pick up the injured Lu Jia and bring him to the old man. And the old man sees that Lu Jia has come injured again, and he says, "I've told you to be careful. You can't keep getting injured like this." And Lu Jia thinks, only this old man was kind to Lu Jia. He treated Lu Jia like his own grandson. And somehow, I took his place in this world, and Lu Jia has now remembered all the memories of the previous owner of this body. Then he says, "Did I have a heart attack and die while studying? It hasn't even been an hour and my injuries are already gone. This world really does have magic. It doesn't seem like there's technology here. But the magic here can heal me so quickly. Something technology could never do." And Lu Jia starts looking around, and then he finds a book which is about alchemy. And he thinks, according to this book, alchemists don't fight. Instead they work to heal and improve society. If this world is like the comics I read, any cultivator could get offended at the slightest offense. I'd be powerless to defend myself as they killed me. Just like Lu Jia. But if I become an alchemist, maybe I can use my chemistry knowledge to bring development to this world. Science is the study of nature. If the laws of my world don't apply, then I just have to learn the laws of this world instead. I could become rich by selling pills and living comfortably. I don't even know whether I can get back to my real world." And then the old man intervenes and he asks, "What are you doing, Lu Jia?" And Lu Jia thinks, "I have to do everything I can to survive here. Sorry, Lu Jia. You weren't cut out to be a cultivator. I won't help you realize your dream. And I won't help you realize your dream. I will live on and be an alchemist instead." And Lu Jia bows before the old man and says to him, "Please teach me alchemy." And as soon as the old man hears this, he is surprised, but he says, "No, I can't." And as soon as Lu Jia hears this, all his dreams are shattered. But Lu Jia asks why? So the old man tells, "Alchemy is a lifelong path, Lu Jia. I do not wish to take an apprentice who is not serious about it." And Lu Jia thinks, of course he doesn't believe me. The real Lu Jia would never try to be an alchemist. But I need a way to earn money if I want to survive in this dangerous world. And Lu Jia says, "The spar has opened my eyes. I've seen the truth. I'm talentless. But in alchemy, I can see a new path for myself. A way to improve myself. Please take me as an apprentice." And the old man asks Lu Jia, "What does alchemy mean to you, Lu Jia?" And Lu Jia thinks the book talked about this. The purpose of alchemy. So Lu Jia tells, alchemy is the craft of refining, turning various herbs and resources to form elixirs and pills. But Lu Jia thinks, no, it is a basic answer, that's not what he is looking for from me. What is alchemy to me? In a world of magic and cultivation, what could I do with it? Then Lu Jia says, alchemy is the study of nature. It's a way of understanding how the world works. It is a path of understanding. A path of science. One I can use to bring technology and development to this world filled with magic. And the old man says, you are correct, Lu Jia. Perhaps this old man had misjudged you. The path of alchemy may indeed be for you. If you truly wish to be an alchemist, then kowtow thrice and agree to take me as your master. And Lu Jia does the same, and he says, I agree, master. And the old man says, very well, then let us begin your first lesson. You'll start by learning about ingredients. Which ingredient does what, the potency of herbs, the purity of their essence, and the time and technique to refine them. Then we'll learn how to use the cauldron to refine a pill. And the old man gives Lu Jia a book, The Fundamentals of Alchemy Part 1. And the old man says, that book contains the recipes for 3 basic pills. Once you can brew all 3, you can call yourself a junior alchemist. And Lu Jia thinks it seems like these recipes were made centuries ago, but the way he is asking me to learn them means that almost no changes were made to them. And Lu Jia asks, why has nobody tried to improve the recipe? So the old man says, these recipes were created by our venerable ancestors. To try and tamper with them would be foolish. And Lu Jia starts looking at the book and he says, "Doesn't that mean they're outdated?" And the old man is surprised. He goes and looks at Lu Jia and thinks, something's been off about him since that spar. Then Lu Jia says, "Alright. I've memorized them." And the old man gets surprised and he thinks, it's only been 2 hours. It should have taken days. And the old man asks, "Alright, what is the use of the glacial spirit poison then?" So Lu Jia tells, glacial spirit poison acts on the heart and body, slowing them down and turning them cold, before the victim dies of heart failure. It can be used to counteract potent spirit poisons by slowing their spread and reducing fever. And the old man says that is correct. You memorized all of them? And Lu Jia smiles and says, "Yes, master." And the old man thinks, how many years has it been since someone has called me master? Then the old man asks, "Have you been taught alchemy before, Lu Jia?" At the same time he thinks, was he some kind of genius all along? And Lu Jia tells the old man, "No, master. This is my first time. I'm just very good at memorizing names and descriptions." And Lu Jia thinks, years of cramming for exams is finally helping me. Thank you, brain. And the old man says, "Very well, then let us start learning to use the cauldron." Do you know why we use the cauldron to refine, Lu Jia? So Lu Jia says, because its shape allows for even distribution of heat. And it can hold a lot in it? The old man says, yes, those are reasons too, though size matters little. Many alchemists often use small cauldrons that are larger on the inside. The main reason we use cauldrons lie in their ability to hold qi. And Lu Jia becomes very surprised when he sees all this, and he thinks, whoa. How much qi does he have? I guess I never knew which realm the old man was, did I? And the old man says, 3 things define one's talent in alchemy. First is one's sensitivity to qi. The second is one's ability to manipulate that qi. And lastly, is luck. But Lu Jia does not understand anything about luck. And the old man says, even the most experienced alchemists fail, and only the heavens can tell when they will favor you. And Lu Jia thinks, if these pills work like chemical reactions, or anything beyond just magic, luck shouldn't factor in. I should be able to find the optimal conditions for success. And the old man says, and since luck is out of our hands, we focus on the first 2. And Lu Jia asks, then is it all about being blessed? So the old man replies, it is not all about being blessed, Lu Jia. The heavens turn a kind eye to those who work hard. Qi sensitivity and control can both be trained. And it is with those 2. Hard work helps, and so does a good cauldron. A good cauldron guides your qi and the essence inward. And the old man makes a pill using his qi, and he shows it to Lu Jia and says, this is a simple qi gathering pill. It will nourish you when your qi is running low. Now you try, Lu Jia. But Lu Jia is very surprised, and he keeps staring. And the old man asks him, what's wrong? So Lu Jia asks, how do I light the fire again? And the old man gets disappointed and he bows his head. The path of alchemy seems to be a long one. After some time, Lu Jia is sweeping the sect and he says, I never thought that alchemy would be expensive. So, now I need money to learn alchemy to earn money. It's a vicious cycle of wasted herbs. Only the talented disciples in the inner sect get anything good, while they make outer disciples like me do so much work but barely give us any money. I don't even have enough money for food, let alone to leave the sect. From the memories of Lu Jia, I know there is the spirit garden that only inner disciples can go to. I've heard it has herbs that are so rare, if you sold them you could get enough money for a lifetime. If I could get access to this garden, I would have all the herbs I want. And then someone says to Lu Jia, eat something funny, Lu Jia? Your expression is terrible. So Lu Jia says, just recovering from the spar. Also Lu Jia thinks, I think his name was Sulin? Lu Jia's memories have been very vague. I still don't know a lot of people here. And Sulin says, you should keep your head down and never look at them or they will keep kicking your ass. They got the Thunder Phoenix bloodline. You can't beat them even if they're in the same realm as you. And Lu Jia thinks, which is exactly why I need to get away from here. Imagine if they came back to fight. I don't want to get beaten up again. Then Lu Jie turns back and asks Su Lin, "Hey Su Lin, how long have you been in the sect?" And Su Lin says, "Me? A decade? It's been a while." Then Lu Jie says, "You've been here from even before me. You must know almost all the outer sect disciples and even some inner sect ones, right?" And Su Lin says, "I do know a few, I suppose." "What about it?" Also Su Lin thinks, from what I can sense, Su Lin is still in the second realm. Even weaker than me. And I'm one of the weakest in the outer sect. There's no reason to stay here if you're not growing in strength. But this guy stuck around. And I think I know why. Then Lu Jie asks, "Do you know anyone who works in the spirit herb gardens?" And Su Lin says, "And what if I do?" And Lu Jie thinks as I thought. He knows someone in the inner sect spirit garden. He's probably selling those herbs to earn money, which is why he sticks around here. And Lu Jie says, "I may have something that could benefit both of us." And Lu Jie thinks this is one of the few pills I managed to make successfully. An old talentless outer sect disciple like me can never get their hands on a pill like this normally. So to Su Lin this can only look like one thing. That I stole this. And Lu Jie says, "I've got more, but I need spirit herbs. If you bring me spirit herbs, I will give you 5 of these. You can sell these and we will share the profits. And if I can trust you, then I also have some more potent pills lying around." And Lu Jie thinks I'm effectively asking him to join me in my crime. If he doesn't take the bait, and tells one of the elders, I'll be in so much trouble. And Su Lin asks, "How many can you bring every week?" So Lu Jie says, "A small handful every week." But Su Lin turns away, seeing that Lu Jie gets a little confused, and he thinks, "Failed, I guess that would have been too easy." But Su Lin says, "Near the second tree, next to the outer walls. Every 7 days during the evening's work." And Lu Jie thinks, "Phew. My bluff worked. Good thing I carried these wasted pills around." The pulse of chi from them breaking apart made it look like I was carrying a high-grade pill. If this deal works out, I will have a method to obtain more spirit herbs easily. Then I can practice alchemy without losing money, and finally become rich enough to leave this sect. After some time, when Lu Jie comes to his alchemy room, he gets a little surprised, because things are scattered around. And among all those things, a rat is eating something, and seeing that Lu Jie smiles and thinks, "A rat? So you're the one who's been eating all my pills." But when the mouse sees Lu Jie, it gets scared and starts running away. But before that, Lu Jie catches the mouse with his hands, and starts showing the mouse the stars during the day. And Lu Jie tells the mouse, "I've got you now, you little rascal." But when Lu Jie looks at the mouse closely, the mouse starts glowing, which surprises Lu Jie, and he thinks, "Is this what I think it is?" Then Lu Jie looks at the mouse. Lu Jie tells the mouse, "If you move, I'll feed you to a cat." And the mouse gets very scared after hearing Lu Jie's words. And Lu Jie thinks it can understand me, smart rat. And Lu Jie starts looking for something, and after searching for some time he finds a book, and the thing he is looking for is a book of a spirit animal. And Lu Jie, while reading the book, says, "Spirit rats are pests that eat through spirit herbs and destroy crops. They are useless for combat and make for poor familiars. But the spirit rats are uncannily good at finding spirit herbs in the wild." And then Lu Jie gets an idea, and he thinks, maybe I can use it to find spirit herbs outside the sect. That way I won't just have to rely on Su Lin. And then Lu Jie's attention goes towards the rat, and that rat is smelling Lu Jie's smell. But Lu Jie says to the rat, "Bad. Bad rat. Stay put." And the rat gets scared, but it makes an innocent face, and seeing its innocent face, Lu Jie says, "No, no, don't do that." But the rat makes an even more innocent face, seeing which Lu Jie's heart melts, and he says, "Just take them, you cute monster." And Lu Jie gives a pill to the rat to eat, and also Lu Jie caresses the rat's head and says to it, "You evil smart little creature. You'll make a fine assistant. I think I'll call you Lab Rat. Labby for short." Apart from this, Lu Jie has some other motives also. And he says, "You're going to repay me for all the pills you've stolen, and I've just thought of how." And Lu Jie starts laughing out loud, but the mouse is not understanding anything, it is just enjoying his food. After some time, Lu Jie is sitting in a forest and cooking soup, and while tasting the soup, he says, "It could use some more spice." And then Labby comes from the bushes. And he brings a lot of herbs with him, and seeing him Lugia says, "You got anything for me?" "Good boy." And Labby again goes towards the bushes, and Lugia thinks, these wild herbs aren't nearly as potent as the ones from the garden. But they're easy for Labby to find, and that makes them perfect for testing. Should I? Then Lugia takes out an herb and puts it in the soup, and he thinks, if someone saw me doing this, they'd gasp in horror at the waste of herbs. But I think it could give the soup just the kick it needs. I'm getting better at controlling my chi. Then Lugia takes out the soup in 2 bowls and he calls out to Labby and says, "Time to eat, Labby." And as soon as Labby hears this, his eyes start shining. And he quickly comes to Lugia. Then they both enjoy the soup. After a while, they both finish the soup. And Lugia starts noting something in his diary, and he thinks this feels peaceful. I could get used to this life. I haven't yet tried to cultivate. Maybe I could give it a shot? Even alchemists need to cultivate if they want to grow. Then Lugia sits down to do cultivation, and he thinks something feels wrong. From the memories I got, to cultivate, you need to cycle your chi. But my chi is not cycling itself properly. And Lugia starts looking at the book to see what is wrong in it, and he thinks, maybe I can try using a different shape. And Lugia starts cultivating again, but this time he is able to cultivate properly. And he likes it very much, and he thinks, an infinite cycle made of 2 circles. 16 cycles, 80 cycles, 82 cycles. Then Lugia opens his eyes and he says, "What was that?" Something shifted inside of me. After some time Lugia is resting, and he is thinking, I must have lost track of time. And Lugia says to Labby, "Yeah, little buddy, sorry about the delay. Let's head home." But Labby gets scared because of Lugia's sudden statement, but still he climbs on Labby's shoulders. But before leaving, Lugia touches the grass on the ground, and he thinks, is the grass longer there? Well, it's probably nothing. But Lugia does not pay much attention and he goes away. But we see that the grass starts growing very fast. And flowers also come in it. After some time Lugia comes to the alchemy room. And he starts making soup again using his power. And he thinks, I've already failed 5 times now. So many herbs wasted. 6 times the charm? Improving the cheery filling elixir is proving more difficult than I thought. But if I can, the results will be worth it. Good, the elixir is ready. Now, time to test a new ingredient. And Lugia says to Labby, "Labby, grab me that flower." And Labby also brings herbs and gives them to Lugia. And Lugia thinks, okay, deep breaths. You can do this. If my guess is right, the spirit refining lotus should improve the recipe. In theory at least. The old man would freak out if he saw this. Then Lugia puts the herbs inside the cauldron, but then he feels something and thinks, crap. That's way too much chi. And Lugia is very nervous, but still a lot of chi starts coming out of the cauldron, seeing which Lugia gets a little surprised. But after a while that thing calms down. And Lugia thinks, has this really happened? And Lugia opens the lid. The scene inside is very nice, seeing which Lugia says, I think we just made our first cultivator energy drink. After a while, the old man is looking at the cultivation energy drink made by Lugia, and he asks Lugia, so you changed the recipe despite my warnings? Lugia replies yes. And the old man says, did you at least succeed in improving the recipe? And Lugia says somewhat. It will take a lot of tinkering to perfect it. But it's already marginally better and more cost efficient. And the old man says, do you know why trying to improve these recipes is frowned upon, Lugia? So Lugia says, no, master. Also Lugia thinks he sounds worried. And the old man tells, the ancestors, who established the 7 celestial peaks, from which the Cloudy Peaks sect was formed, also formed an alchemy vault that now holds many of the recipes our ancestors left behind. They safeguard the recipes, ensuring any commonly available alchemical books only contain simplified versions. Any alternate brewings are shut down and added to the vaults. It was a practice originally started to prevent harmful alchemy recipes. But things have changed over time. There are those that still try to make it on their own, but they stay low and do not draw attention. Those that don't almost always die in some unfortunate accident. Do you really wish to continue down this path, Lugia? Think about this very carefully, boy. And Lugia thinks, what is it I truly want? To live an alchemist under the sect, never able to experiment? No, I want to be free from the politics and cultivator bullshit. I want to experiment, to bring science and development to this world. So much can be done, things that would be impossible in my own world. If I can just understand chi, understand the laws of cultivation, I could change this world for the better. Make it a new home for myself. And Lugia was about to say something, but before that the old man stops him from saying anything, and he says, "No need, boy. I know that look in your eyes. Nothing this old man says will sway your resolve. Perhaps this truly is the path that the heavens have chosen for you. All that I ask of you is that you leave nothing on the table. If you're going to defy the elders, defy them with every fiber of your being." Then the old man leaves, and Lugia thanks him, but then the old man says to Lugia, "Oh, also, be here for your next lesson at the same time tomorrow." And Lugia smiles and says thank you. After this it becomes evening, and Lugia is going to meet Sulin. And he looks at Labby and asks him, "Shhh, Labby. It's okay." Because Lugia had kept Labby in a small bundle, and when he looked ahead, a student was coming towards him, seeing whom Lugia started going straight ahead. And he thinks, I'd rather not get noticed while doing this. The fewer people that know me here at the sect, the easier it will be to leave. My heart is pounding. He'd better show up. And after walking some distance, Lugia sees Sulin. And he is lying down on the ground and resting, and he is waiting for Lugia. And when he sees Lugia, he starts taking him somewhere else by gesturing. And seeing this, Lugia is a little surprised and he thinks, where is he leading me? I'd better be on my guard. If he's ratted me out, then I need to be prepared to run. And then Labby's forehead starts glowing and Lugia tells him, "It's okay, Labby. Let's just stay calm." And Sulin brings Lugia to a secluded place and tells him, "So, do you have them?" And Lugia says, "I do." "Do you have the herbs?" And Lugia thinks, this feels like I'm doing something illegal. Well, I guess I literally am. Then Sulin extends his hand and says, "They're all right here. Now show me the pills." And Lugia takes out a pill bottle and takes out 3 pills from the bottle and shows them to Sulin, which makes Sulin happy, and he says, "Well, I'll be damned. Never knew you had it in ya, Gia. Thought you'd be a no-show." And Lugia says, "3/4 of the money you get is mine, remember?" And Sulin, taking the herbs, says, Yeah, don't worry, Gia. You'll have the money by next week when we nice doing business with ya." And Sulin starts to leave from there. Then Lugia takes a sigh of relief and he says, "Well, that went surprisingly smoothly. Let's head on back, Labby?" But when Lugia opens the bundle and looks inside, Labby is not there, due to which Lugia becomes very surprised. And then someone shouts and Lugia gets surprised. And someone shouts, "What is that rat doing here? Get it away from me!" And we see a girl who gets scared after seeing Labby. And Labby also gets scared and he runs to Lugia, and that girl says, "I cannot stand rats. Is that spirit yours?" And Lugia says to the girl, "Forgive me, senior sister. I'll keep a closer eye on him next time. It was my mistake." And Lugia, looking at the girl, thinks, of course it has to be Yen Yun, granddaughter of the leader of the sect. And the girl becomes very angry. And Lugia becomes very scared and he thinks, damn it, Labby, you're gonna get us killed. But the girl says, whatever, forget about it. And Lugia becomes a little surprised and he says, what did you say? So Yen Yun says, I said forget about it. And Lugia thinks, oh, she's kinder than I thought. And the girl starts looking at Lugia and she says, what are you doing all the way out here anyway? Much less with a rat? So Lugia says in panic, Labby can search for spirit herbs and the girl gets a little confused, but she thinks, a spirit rat? That has to be the most pathetic spirit animal I've ever heard of. And Yen Yun asks, where did you find that spirit rat? Lugia says, Labby had been eating stuff in my chamber, and one day I caught him. But Yen Yun thinks there's something strange about this boy. And Yen Yun asks, "What do you even do with all those herbs?" And Lu Jia thinks I can't let her find out about my pills. So Lu Jia tells Yen Yun that he ate all the herbs. And hearing this, Yen Yun gets very shocked and she says, "You eat spirit herbs?" And Yen Yun thinks, what is wrong with this guy? And Lu Jia tells Yen Yun, they actually taste pretty good if you cook them. And Yen Yun says, you are one strange boy. And Yen Yun thinks, there's something about this one. His simple appearance. The way his eyes drift around. His awkward smile. The rat. How he shows next to no interest in me. How he shows next to no interest in me. But why? I'm beautiful, have a strong bloodline, and high cultivation. Dozens of nobles throw themselves at my grandfather for my hand in marriage every year. Does he have no interest in women? Wait. There's another boy hiding nearby. And Lu Jia tells Yen Yun, I'm gonna go now. But Yen Yun is thinking, that must be it. A young boy uninterested in women meeting another boy, and in a secluded location? A tryst between two lovers that aren't meant? And Lu Jia starts leaving from there. But then Yen Yun asks Lu Jia to stop and she asks Lu Jia, what's your name? And Lu Jia tells his name. And Yen Yun says, Lu Jia, I would normally tell you to not visit here again, as this is my private place for respite. But I have changed my mind. You can visit this little area so long as you tell no one of its existence. Except for, of course, the other person who knows. And Lu Jia gets a little surprised and he thinks, how does she know about Su Lin? And Yen Yun thinks that look, I knew it was a secret love affair. Then Yen Yun says, don't worry, I, Yen Yun, with the heavens as my witness, swear to treat your secret as if it were my own. And Lu Jia says, thank you, senior sister. At the same time he thinks, hasn't she just caught me red-handed? Didn't the labbie steal her pill? Why is she being so nice? Or rather crazy? And after some time Lu Jia comes to his room and he says, I can't believe I got out of that without dying. That has to go down as the strangest interaction I've had so far. It's alright, labbie. I just realized I need to pay more attention to you. I'll try to avoid that crazy girl from now on. Time to get back to work. If I can boil the essence from some spirit grass and examine its properties, then maybe I can find a way to grow spirit herbs of my own. And I wouldn't have to rely on Su Lin or herbs. I could potentially hasten their growth as well. Right now, that's just a hypothesis. But if it's true, it could be a game changer. And then Labbie comes running to Lu Jia. And he jumps into Lu Jia's hands and Lu Jia asks Labbie what is the matter. And Lu Jia tries to calm Labbie down. And then Lu Jia's attention goes to the cat. Then Lu Jia understands that Labbie was scared after seeing the cat. And he says, ah, cat, that makes sense, I suppose. I'd expect a spirit animal to be fine though. Shoo! I can't let you eat my assistant and spirit herb detector just like that. You need to stop getting into so much trouble, Labbie. First Yen Yun, and now a cat? Labbie's definitely getting smarter though. I'm not sure if he even knows he's doing it, but I've seen him cultivating. Ah, looks like it's ready. Time to see just what makes you work. I need to channel my chi through the spirit essence water. Huh! I can't forcefully saturate it with my chi like normal water because the essence of spirit herb is pushing back. I need to try something else. If I can circulate my chi and split it into two parts, perhaps I can connect it with the spirit essence water. Step 1 of the experiment is a success. Next day, Labbie was enjoying his food comfortably. And then something starts shining above his head and he sees that there is something above his head which is shining. And that shining thing asks Labbie, child, what is your name? And Labbie is surprised and he says, is that the chi? Does it want my name? My name is Labbie. But that thing says Labai? And Labbie says, no, it's not Labbie, but Labbie. And that thing says, those words are not from here. Foreign. Unknown. Unsightly. So Labbie says, the great master named Labbie. Which means it is the best name, better than your Labai. And that says, very well. Then Labbie starts running towards Lu Jia. And he says, Labbie can help master. Yes, Labby will be his assistant. And Labby running climbs on Lugia's shoulder and speaks to him in his language. He can teach Labby his sacred art, and Labby will repay his boundless generosity. But Lugia cannot understand Labby's language. But looking at Labby, he starts caressing his head and says to Labby, he can't understand Labby. How can Labby learn and help him if Labby cannot speak? And Labby gets down from Lugia's shoulder, and he moves towards the book and looking at it says, the divine text. And Labby tries to read the text, but he remembers that Labby can't read this. Labby cannot speak, or read his words. How will Labby learn Master's great teachings and make pills of her own? And then Labby smells the smell of some herbs and he does not understand what that smell is. And then he remembers about Yen Yun and says, it smells of storm and lightning. Like the woman Great Master rescued Labby from. And Labby runs upstairs and tries to open a drawer, and using all his strength he finally opens the drawer. And he sees inside the drawer that there are a lot of herbs, seeing which he is surprised. But he finds all the herbs very tasty. Then we see Lugia who has finished his work and he is saying, another successful batch. So that's 3 pills I can consistently make. Chi gathering pill, cost of production, 1 silver 7 copper, cost of sale, 5 silver, effectiveness increase, 9% to 11%, cost reduction, 2% roughly. Body purification pill, cost of production, 2 silver cost of sale, 7 silver a copper, effectiveness increase, 2% to 3%, cast reduction, 0%. GI reinforcement pill, cost of production, 6 silver, cost of sale, effectiveness increase, cost reduction. For a crazy world of magic, I'm sure doing a lot of bookkeeping. This latest batch should earn me another 20 or so silver. If a shop of my own will cost me 20 gold pieces, and I earn about 25 silver each week, that's 80 more weeks of work, it will do me no good to get disheartened. And then Lugia's attention goes towards an open drawer and he thinks, shit, did I leave that open? I need to keep the herbs covered, and I don't want bugs getting into them again. But when Lugia looks inside the drawer, he gets very surprised because electricity starts coming out from inside the drawer. And that thing starts moving here and there very fast and hits Lugia very fast, seeing which Lugia gets surprised. But when he looks ahead, he sees Labby in front of him. And Lugia gets very surprised by how electricity is coming out from inside Labby. And when Lugia touches Labby, he gets an electric shock. And Lugia says, did you just thunderbolt me? And Lugia understands that Labby has eaten all the herbs that were inside the drawer, and he says, you sneaky little rat. You ate the herbs, didn't you? And evolved into an electric type. On the other side we see Yen Yun who is sitting in a meditative pose. And she is focusing. Then she takes a deep breath. But then someone knocks on her room's door which breaks Yen Yun's focus. And she gets angry but she calms herself down and says come inside. And we see a servant coming to tell Yen Yun something, and she says, I didn't wish to disturb you, young mistress. And Yen Yun says, just a brief meditation, Zuri. I wouldn't be cultivating in my chambers if it was important. Did you find anything? And the servant says, yes, young mistress. The archives had most of the details, and the boy is unremarkable in most ways. There is one curious thing. The boy has stopped sparring and cultivating, instead spending his time apprenticed to Lao Zhang. And Yen Yun says, the old alchemist? That explains why he was drenched in spirit herb chi. What a curious boy. And he hasn't joined the alchemy halls? And the servant says, no, young mistress. As far as I could tell, the boy was defeated in a spar and suddenly decided to take up alchemy. Perhaps he hopes to pursue a different path in life? And Yen Yun thinks something about this doesn't feel right. Then she says, perhaps. Do you also know anything about him? You know I can't say it. I took an oath. And the servant says, the boy seems to visit the grove every week, young mistress. And Yen Yun says, wonderful. I'd been worried our encounter might have scared them away. And the servant says, do you wish for me to look into the other boy? But Yen Yun says, no, leave them be. I gave my word. That will be all, Zuri. Thank you. And Yen Yun thinks, perhaps I could sneak in there while they meet? No, that'd be too shameful. I will just keep this joy all to myself. Then we see Lu Jie, who is going somewhere. And he is thinking, the inner sect, there's so many cultivators here. All people blessed beyond the wildest dreams of the common folk. Why can't everyone gain a better life through effort? There must be a way to make cultivation more accessible. There has to be some sort of rules that cultivation runs on. It is a force of nature. It must follow a path. The path to immortality seems so neatly laid out. Why then is it so dependent on talent? I must be missing something. I felt a strange anger. A deep-seated frustration, unsure if it was mine or the original Lu Jie's. It drove me, and an idea began to bud. A collection of laws to guide people and a means to break down the Tao itself. My chi shifted. Something about this felt right. A path of guidance, to take not just myself, but others with me in the journey to break down the science behind the Tao. To find the laws of cultivation. And then Labi wakes up Lu Jie from his thoughts by giving him a shock. And Lu Jie says to Labi, "Oh, we're here." "Thanks, Labi. I got a little lost in thought." And Lu Jie steps forward and he reaches the door and knocks on the door. And he goes in and he greets a man and says, "Greetings, elder. I would like to register a spirit companion." And then the elder starts staring at Lu Jie, due to which Lu Jie's face starts sweating. Labi feels it too. Then the elder reduces his pressure and says, "That's enough play, Xian Yu. Show me your spirit." And Lu Jie thinks, what was that? I could feel an untold number of eyes on me. And Lu Jie says, "I have him right here, elder." And Lu Jie shows the elder to Labi. And the elder Lu Jie asks, "What is that? Why have you brought me a pest? I have little patience for games, disciple." But Lu Jie refuses. And Labi gets very angry and starts showing his electric power, and he attacks the elder, but the elder destroys his attack very easily. And he starts staring at Labi. And the elder says to Lu Jie, "You should teach it some manners." And Lu Jie gets nervous and tries to calm Labi down. At the same time he apologizes to the elder and says, "Venerable elder, I apologize for it." And the elder says, "No, it is alright. Your spirit seems to be special. But why would you pick a spirit rat? Even if it is a special one." So Lu Jie says, "Labi's useful in finding spirit herbs." And the elder says, "Very well, it is not my position to pry. The spirit will be registered with you. You are dismissed." And when Lu Jie starts leaving, the elder tells him to stop. And Lu Jie looking back, we see something behind the elder, and it is a spirit. And the elder says, "It seems that Xian Yu has taken a liking to your spirit." After meeting the elder, Lu Jie comes out and he thinks, "I need to be more stern with the Labi from now on. That could have ended much worse than it did. The last thing I want is to face the wrath of an elder." And Labi comes out of the bundle and seeing him Lu Jie says, "Yeah, I'm thinking about you. What did the elder's spirit give you anyway? A pill? I wonder what it does." Xian Yu knew Labi's desires. Xian Yu gave this to Labi as a gift. And Labi is looking at that thing. And the spirit says, "Humanity, for one such as you, comes at a cost. Would you abandon your form, to be as your great master is? Think carefully, my young kin. You don't have enough chi right now. My boon would only be temporary. But for a while, you could. Human." And Labi gets ready to eat that thing. Then we see Lu Jie, who is going somewhere, and he says, "We're here. 7th Peak City." And Lu Jie enters the city. And he is amazed to see the things around him. And he thinks, this place is incredible. So many colors and scents. I can practically feel the chi drifting in the wind. Living around cultivators, I never realized how different ordinary people are. Even Labi has more chi than them. Focus, Lu Jie. You came here for a reason. There's gotta be an alchemy shop around here somewhere. This looks as good a place as anything to start. Huh? What's going on over there? And we see some people gathered at one place. And a man is speaking to them, crafted by the disciples of the great Zhao's son. This formation amulet is capable of withholding even the greatest of strikes. Would anyone dare test its might? If you can break through the ward, I'll sell it to you for half price. And Lu Jie thinks, probably some cheap parlor trick. And then that man points towards Lugia and says to him, "You there? A disciple from the sect, correct? Would you like to test your might?" But Lugia gets nervous and he starts refusing. But then a small child says to him, "Come on, brother. You can do it." So Lugia agrees with this. Then he goes upstairs to test that amulet. And that man says, "Wonderful. If you manage to break this ward, disciple, what's your name?" And Lugia tells his name. And that man says, "Disciple Lugia, the amulet shall be yours for free." And Lugia is looking at the amulet, and he is thinking, there's most likely some sort of trick to it. Otherwise, there's no way he'd be boldly claiming such things. And that man says, "Whenever you are ready, Lugia." And Lugia thinks, or he really thinks I can't do it. Although I don't think I can either. Alright, let's get this over with. I don't know any real combat techniques, but I'll try my best. And Lugia gets ready. And he punches the amulet, but the amulet is not affected. But Lugia's hands start hurting. And the man says, "Good try, disciple. However, as you can see, even a devastating blow like that couldn't pierce the ward." And Lugia starts leaving, and he thinks, not exactly a scam, as it seems the ward really did hold up. But then I have no idea how strong my blow was. And the man says, "Everyone thank the good disciple, and please line up here to purchase your own." And Lugia, while leaving, says, "Maybe I should try and find out how strong my punches are. It could be interesting." And the little kid says, pissed, "Hey, come here. Take this." And Lugia asks, "What's this for?" So the little boy says, "For playing along and not running the display." But Lugia says, "Thanks, but you can keep it. In exchange, could you tell me where I can get cheap but good alchemical tools?" And the little boy says, "Thanks, mister. Down the street and head left by the big store. Walk through the alley till you smell herbs and you'll find an old lady. She's a bit senile, but she sells the best pills and herbs around. Among other things." And Lugia thanks the boy. And he thinks, time to find a senile old lady in a shady alley. But then we see Yen Yun, who is following Lugia, and she is thinking, I really shouldn't be doing this. Following a disciple is beneath me, but I can't help myself. This must be some secret meeting between lovers. And Lugia feels something and thinks, why else would I feel a familiar chi presence in the direction he is heading? But Lugia doesn't pay much attention and moves forward thinking, take a left by the big store. Wait a second. Is that Sulin? And Lugia starts following Sulin. And Yen Yun also sees this, and she thinks that Sulin is Lugia's lover. And Lugia, while following Sulin, thinks, what is he doing here? I really shouldn't follow him. But then Sulin turns sharply towards a street, and Lugia also starts following him, but he sees that Sulin is not there. So he is surprised that where did he go? And he says, where did he go? Did he sense my chi? Well, guess I'll just head to that alchemy shop. But then Sulin comes behind Lugia and puts a knife to his throat and asks him, why are you following me? And Lugia gets very scared, but he says, thought I'd see where you were going and if it was you. Guess I was right. Can you pull the knife away now? And Sulin removes the knife from Lugia's throat and says to him, well, whatever. I thought it was those lackeys following me. Has anyone told you that you've changed, Lugia? And Lugia thinks, shit, is he onto me? And Sulin says, you used to be a timid one, but not anymore. And Yen Yun is thinking something different. His lover's hand is on his neck, and their faces are so close. How intimate. I caught them together. Oh, this is too much. Forbidden love. Then Sulin says, well, whatever. Tell me why you were following me. So Lugia says, I was trying to find an old lady that sells alchemy stuff. Just trying to find her. And Sulin says, that's right, old lady that sells alchemy supplies, smokes pipes, and cackles to herself. Is that the one? Well, perhaps it was the will of the heavens then. Follow me. Hey, old hag. The guy I've been getting pills from wants to see you. And Lugia thinks, just what am I getting myself into? And Sulin says, she ain't gonna hear me, the crone's practically deaf. Just head on in. And Sulin comes inside. And seeing this place, Lugia thinks, This place looks more like a witch's hut than a shop. And as soon as Lu Jie comes inside, a man recognizes him and asks him, "Are you Lu Jie?" To this Lu Jie says yes. And the man says, "May the heavens grace you. The pills and money are greatly appreciated." And Lu Jie thinks, just what has Su Lin been doing with the pills I'm giving him? And Su Lin says, "I ain't told him, Chen. Was supposed to be a quiet thing before the idiot followed me." And the man says, "Gratitude is gratitude, brother. Every little bit helps." And Lu Jie says, didn't mean to butt in like this." And Su Lin says, "It's alright, this ain't a secret. Well, outside the whole spirit herb thing, the boy you just met is Chao Qin. And the sleeping one is brother Zhang. They're all my brothers." And Lu Jie thinks, clearly not by blood. "I wonder what's wrong with the one named Zhang. I can't sense any chi off of him." And Lu Jie says, "Why is brother Zhang like that? He has no chi." And then someone says, "He was crippled, that's why." And we see an old lady and she says, "The sect crippled him as punishment for choosing the lives of his companions over that of the son of some cultivator." And Lu Jie thinks she's aged poorly for someone with such strong cultivation. And Lu Jie asks Su Lin, "Is this what you needed the spirit herbs for?" And Su Lin says, "Yeah. The old Hogranny Lang takes care of brother Zhang." And Lu Jie thinks, "I guess Su Lin isn't as much of a rat as I thought." And the old woman says, "First time seeing a crippled boy? Well, then have a close look at what fate awaits any who try to rise against those in power. Come. I'm sure you came here for more than just sightseeing." And Su Lin gives a pill to the old woman, and on seeing the pill Lu Jie understands that it is the same pill which Lu Jie had given to Su Lin earlier. And the old woman looks at the pill carefully, and she says to Lu Jie, "This isn't the standard recipe they have for the pills, is it? Changed the composition, added some unnecessary stuff, unrefined impurities. Bah, sloppy work, that old fool is a poor teacher." And Lu Jie asks, "You know the old man?" And the old woman says, "Yes, I know your master. No one else would be foolish enough to take you in as a disciple." And Lu Jie thinks she really doesn't like the sect, does she? And he says, "Why haven't you joined one of the halls? I heard they take down alchemists that don't join them." And the old lady says, "Well, why haven't you, boy?" And Lu Jie thinks, "Alright, so no prying questions." And Lu Jie asks, "What exactly happened to Zhang? Are all people with crippled cultivation like that?" And Su Lin says, "No, not always. Not to this extent, at least. Most can live normal lives." And Lu Jie says, "Then what's different about Zhang's case?" And the old lady says, "His cultivation was forcefully ripped out, shattered and destroyed. It's a miracle he survived at all. A sign of his talent, perhaps." And Su Lin says, "What good did that talent ever do to him?" And Lu Jie thinks I may be getting too involved in this. And the old lady says, "Calm yourself, Su Lin." But Su Lin gets angry and starts walking out. And Lu Jie thinks, "But didn't I decide that my path is to bring cultivation to all I can? This could be an opportunity to learn. If I can restore Zhang's cultivation, perhaps I can let even commoners cultivate." And Lu Jie asks, "Is there no way to heal him?" So the old lady says, "There are a few herbs and elixirs that might. Though I doubt his cultivation will ever fully heal. Su Lin told me you needed supplies. Go grab what you need and take it. Consider it an investment for the pills you've been supplying." And Lu Jie starts looking at all the things that he needs. And he thinks, "I think this is about everything on my list." And Su Lin says, "By the soaring heavens, you made me open up shelves the old hag hasn't opened in decades." So Lu Jie says, "Hee, sorry. Thanks for your help finding everything though." And Lu Jie gives Su Lin some pills, but Su Lin says the old hag said the supplies were in the house. And Lu Jie says, "Please, this would barely cover half the cost. Just take it and help me carry my stuff." And Su Lin says, "I need to be getting back to the sect, anyways." Then they both start walking towards the sect. And Lu Jie says, "You know, you're a surprisingly nice guy." And Su Lin says, "And you're a surprisingly clumsy guy. Now move, I don't want to be late." And they both are walking through a street. But then someone comes in front of them and says, "Oh, look who we've found. If it isn't Su Lin." And seeing those people Lu Jie gets scared and he thinks, "Crap, I knew I shouldn't have gotten too involved. And when Sulin sees those people, he recognizes who these people are. And there is a man in front of him, and he has a sword in his hand. And today's video end here. If you like this video, so please press the like button and also leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you. We will meet in other video.